Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching News 9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the studio is my colleague and editor for News 9 Plus, Sandeep Unnithan. And what you can read behind us, swarm drones, China's new war machines, is going to be our focus over the next couple of minutes. Swarm drones, an emerging technology with far-reaching implications. As drones become a defining feature of modern warfare, it's crucial to understand the capabilities and the potential applications of these autonomous aerial groups. Now, drone swarms equipped with advanced artificial intelligence can work in unison to accomplish diverse tasks, from reconnaissance to targeted attacks. In this particular report today, we're going to try and delve into the features, the applications, and how they might impact amphibious operations. As technology evolves, reconnaissance and security, followed by light attack, are expected to be initial applications. However, the potential for mass attacks and overwhelming targets makes drone swarms highly effective for amphibious assaults. Stay tuned and get down in the comment sections as we try and explore the military value of drone swarms and what it means in the Indian context. How ready is India to counter this evolving technology? Our borders, how secure are they? These drones with the killer bee kind of an operation and mindset mentality, are we ready even as technology turns a new leaf? Are our defense capabilities up to the mark? What's the situation right now? And for people out there who don't necessarily know what are swarm drones, can you throw some light a little bit on the swarm drones? Because drone technology, I remember, Aviation Ministry last year around had put out a massive circular, a gazette notification, talking about the size of drone, what drone you can fly in which area, what's a green area, what's a red area. And with drones, I mean, from food delivery to animation to holographics, all the good things have also come. But with the good things, I'm sure there are lots of negatives as well. So throw some light on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kabir. Good to be back here with you again. And firstly, that story, that amazing story, was put together by a reporter, Nivriti Mohan. She's just done a lot of legwork on that, and she's got some really exclusive insights into our drone preparedness and, in fact, what the Army, the kind of technologies that they're looking for. Now, coming back to your question about swarm drones, last year we had that conversation about what is the future of warfare going to be? And everyone said it's going to be drones, right? That was a year ago. Today, we are in the middle of the world's first drone-on-drone warfare, where both sides are deploying drones, right? Attacking each other, Russia and Ukraine. There was that report, I don't know if you saw that one, by RUSI, which says that Russia is shooting down 10,000 Ukrainian drones a month.
Right.
I mean, that's an incredible volume of drones. And that just tells you how warfare has so completely changed in the last 1 year since we had that conversation. And today, it's no more a matter of will drones be used in warfare? It's how they're going to be used in warfare. So this is, our story here looks at the future of drone warfare, and the future, clearly the phase 2, is going to be swarm drones. So what you had now, all the stories up to now, all the videos that we've seen are of individual drones being sent out,
singular,
like missiles, singular, or in launched in salvos, right, to overwhelm a target. But now we're looking at the second phase of this, where you have network drones, that drones that are talking to each other, and they're assigning targets. They're almost independent, autonomous, and they're overwhelming a target, sheer numbers, exactly like killer bees. They go there, they pick their targets, allocate it, and then they start hitting these targets. And the drones are of all sizes. The swarms that we could be faced with, palm-sized drones, they could be larger quadcopters. This is a technology that every country in the world today, every country that has a decent-sized military, is looking to develop. And they're also simultaneously looking at counter-drone technologies. So our story basically looks at this threat that's posed on our borders, both our borders, in fact. We have a two-front war situation with Pakistan and China, as the military calls it. But with drones now coming into the fray, we're looking at a two-front drone threat as well. Now, on the western border with Pakistan, you have this thing of drone drug mules being used as drug mules.
Right.
Literally every day there are weapons and arms and ammunition and drug shipments.
Across the Punjab border recently,
across the Punjab border, exactly.
Had them drop the various parts of an RPG launcher.
So that's how it's almost like a daily occurrence in Punjab now. So we've had brilliant ground reports from Punjab as well. Along the China border, very interestingly, what's been going on in the last 3 years, ever since the deployment in Ladakh began and our counter deployment against the Chinese, is that it's being used as some kind of a proving ground by the Chinese to test a whole lot of drone technology, especially in high altitudes, right? So we've been seeing our positions being buzzed by drones, and which is why the Indian armed forces have kind of accelerated their requirements. They've accelerated their drone acquisition programs and indeed their counter drone programs. So there's a massive amount of research that's going on even as we speak in laboratories across the country. There are lots of people who are putting their heads and minds to this kind of threat, and we're hearing reports of swarm drones already being deployed by the Chinese against us. I mean, these are unconfirmed reports of sightings of swarm drones along the line of actual control. And while we haven't been able to confirm those reports, what we do know for a fact is that a few months back, the Indian Army issued a white paper to the Indian industry, a problem statement asking them for a range of counter drone technologies, a range of counter swarm drone technologies. And that's what you saw in that document.
Essentially means that we do have a problem at our hands.
We do have a problem. Like, we have the problem on both fronts. And the China border is actually more worrisome simply because of the kind of capabilities that the Chinese military and their commercial space have been able to master. Chiefly the ability to fly very large number of swarms together, 3,000. You saw it there, right? Those demos with 3,000 and 5,000 drones. I mean, it's incredible to move this mass of drones together. Now, the military application is just a step away from that. All you need to do is to rig those drones with a flight control software and weaponize them.
A little setting here, a little setting there, and they're thinking alike as well.
Yes, and that this, the transition from civil to military in China is literally seamless. So, which is why our planners, our armed forces have kind of moved and they've gone out to the Indian industry. It's a very interesting paper that we, Nivriti got hold of, where she actually, got these details of the kind of technologies that we were looking at. And you saw some of those in the documentary: microwave weapons and lasers and electromagnetic pulses.
You know what, Sandeep? We're going to touch upon the counter, measures in just a bit.
Yeah.
But if, a swarm attack was, let's say, supposed to take place anytime today, how prepared are we? Are we even expecting something like this to happen, the forces on the border front with China?
Well, I think it can never be ruled out, Kabir, and no country is ever going to tell you how it's going to hit you. The problem with a swarm drone attack or, having a capability like this is that it encourages the enemy to use it on the first day of the war, right in the beginning when you're absolutely caught unawares. You would be expecting a swarm of missiles or rockets or fighter aircraft to come in your direction, but then lo and behold, it could be like literally thousands of these killer bees, networked killer bees, which are actually your swarm drones coming and hitting you. So that's why we have to be prepared for this, and that's also one of the reasons I see that the armed forces are really accelerating their drone protection programs.
You're talking about how various countries are accelerating their drone programs, but another talking it in the documentary says that most of them have it. No, nobody has deployed these swarm drones, at least not officially.
Well, so Kabir, the thing is that it is that that one weapon that could give you that leg up in a conflict. Why would countries reveal their capabilities, right? So, like I said, you would probably be one side would be expecting a wave of missiles and aircraft to hit them, and lo and behold, they'll be hit by a swarm drone attack. And it's exactly like what the Indian Navy did in the 1971 war. I always go back to that because that was the first time a missile had been used in conflict in the subcontinent. And the Pakistan Navy, which was at the receiving end, had absolutely no idea that we had missile capability. And when it was deployed in combat off Karachi at night, late at night, the engagement was over in less than 30 minutes, and 3 warships and 1 merchant ship were destroyed immediately, like that. And the Pakistan Navy had no idea what they'd been hit by.
It was the element of surprise.
It was the element of surprise. It was something that they sprang on the first day of the war. So this capability, it is so, the capability to overwhelm your adversary is so great that this is something that you would, necessarily deploy as a surprise move, as a the Chinese have a word for it. I think it's called hidden mace or something like that. So this is one of those capabilities they will do. And you know, like we see in drone deliveries and all that, the precision with which drones arrive onto their target, you know, deliver, you know, either you know, packages from place A to place B. That's the precision with which explosive ordnance can be delivered. Or you know, and surgical. You're talking of like smart warfare, where you know, you just do the absolutely the very amount of damage that you need to do to destroy something.
The aspect of being overwhelmed with the number of these drones is also something to look at. I mean, if you had 100 drones deliver a can of Coca-Cola to you, I mean, that'd be overwhelming to, for you as well.
Absolutely.
And,
now we're talking of Coca-Colas, but imagine that in a conflict scenario where the cans are something else. And
grenades, maybe.
I mean, grenades, exactly. So that's how it is, and that's you know, going back to the Russia-Ukraine war, Kabir. This is what the war has really taught us, that now the drone in today's warfare is now as ubiquitous as the artillery shell was 100 years ago. Every country is now going to look for that capability to produce literally thousands of drones to overwhelm their adversary. And the next stage of that, as we discussed, is going to be to network these drones so that, you know, it's just not going to be like dumb artillery shells. It's going to be smart weapons, precision weapons, networked weapons, weapons networked with artificial intelligence, and you know, having a pack leader there. So, and that is where we're actually entering the most dangerous sphere of conflict, which is the thing of artificial intelligence entering the game, when you have fully autonomous weapon systems that are like the Terminator kind of thing. Which
I mean,
go
it
out
always
right
takes me back to Skynet.
Oh, absolutely. Skynet, and launching, you know, thousands of Terminators in this case, where you don't have a man in the loop to take that decision whether to kill or not to kill. Right now, all the drones
There's
have
no kill switch, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, would you leave this kind of capability in the hands of machines? I know for a fact that the government of India has consciously decided not to have that autonomous capability, not to develop that autonomous capability for drone swarms. But there must be another country who says that, hell no, we're going to go ahead and do it. We'll, you know, launch autonomous swarms. We're the little guys.
And you know, I mean, of course, it's very interesting, and we are certainly digressing here. Let's quickly talk about the countermeasures as well, Sandeep. If we are, in fact, you know, looking at China having these swarm drones, and this, in fact, is their new, you know, war technology, what is it that we can do? You know, some top techniques that we can employ?
Well, offensive and defensive, two formats essentially. One is, of course, the offensive is there are companies which have already been given orders for swarm drones. One of the first orders was actually placed on a Bangalore-based company, News9, which is a small 100 drone swarm which can go 50 kilometers deep. So the army has placed that order, and so that is one. The offensive capability is slowly being built up. The defensive capability, like we discussed, is the one that's the cause for concern, that we need to have a range of weapon systems, or defensive weapon systems that can, you know, soft kill and hard kill these swarms when they come. And so the technologies that they're looking at are like microwave weapons. High-powered microwave weapons, with basically energy beams that are directed at these drone swarms. Because the fact is that they're so small that that is the cloak of invulnerability that they have. They're so tiny that you shoot one down. I mean, there's a limit to the number of drones that you can actually shoot down physically with a machine gun or something.
I mean, we were just looking at that scene from Angel Has Fallen.
That's
and, you know, you've got the soldiers that are looking up in the sky. They're aiming their guns, but I mean, how many can you shoot down?
How many can you shoot down? Exactly. So you need some kind of a directed energy weapon that can, you know, immobilize large swaths of these swarm drones, and that is one capability.
That's where waves come into play.
That's where the waves come in, and, you know, directed energy, you know, an electromagnetic pulse that could be generated that could knock out the circuitry of these swarms. You know, basically it will be something like insect repellent that you spray at, you know, bees, just to give you a very simplistic kind of understanding of that. You know, clouds of insect repellent or something like that, or poison gas or something. But so you need to generate that kind of force field to knock down, immobilize these drones, especially around your vital areas.
Something like the Iron Dome that Israel has, maybe.
But
I mean,
for
that
swarms,
it looks really cool to me. I mean, you know, talk about those kind of technologies. You look at it in animation shows and in cartoons, but I mean, the Iron Dome that Israel has is always, it just looks beautiful. I know that the war between Palestine and Israel is not funny at all.
Right.
But it looks cool.
But the Iron Dome, and the problem with the Iron Dome, Kabir, is the fact that it relies on physical interceptors. You have to launch missiles, and the probability of the opposing side, literally firing thousands of missiles, crude rockets, homemade rockets, to overwhelm your missiles is far greater than your ability to generate those missiles, throwing up those missiles. Can you imagine? Missiles are expensive, right? So you need to look at maybe a microwave version of the Iron Dome. And I'm sure the Israelis are working on it, just as the Americans are, and the Russians are, and the Ukrainians are, and the Chinese are. But I know for a fact that we are actually looking at these, and thanks to those white papers to the Indian industry, we know what the military is thinking, what they're looking at, and how they want to protect us from this big threat.
All right, so I'm just going to, as we wrap this up, and I'm going to put you in a sticky position here, Sandeep. Are we making the right steps? Are we taking the right strides when we're looking at the swarm drone technology? You spoke about how we've already given the first order, but autonomous, complete control to this to artificial intelligence is something India is absolutely against.
Right. So, Kabir, if you look at it, we've been operating drones, UAVs, drones, call it what you will, for over a quarter of a century, right? For 25 years. We were a bit slow on the uptake. We are actually almost 10 years behind many other countries in the world in terms of drone technology. Like Turkey has taken huge strides. It's a drone superpower. Iran has taken huge strides in drone technology. But now in the last 3 years, there's been some very concerted moves to catch up, right? And one of the lead services doing that is the Indian Air Force. They had this amazing contest called the Meher Baba contest, which they, again, a challenge out to the Indian industry. A very small prize money thing. It's a joint development kind of project, 40 or 50 crore, which they wanted to co-develop drone technology with the Indian industry. And that one contest actually created an entire ecosystem in India for drone development. So now the military is going back to that ecosystem that they created and getting them to create counter drones, create drone swarms, and all of that. So while we may have been a little slow in the past, I think in the last couple of years we are catching up. We are speeding up. We've not caught up yet. We're almost there, but I don't want to predict what the future would look like. But I would say that with a reasonable amount of certainty that we, in the next 1 or 2 years, we would have really caught up with the other countries around us.